Providing a safe, abundant, and affordable water supply is an essential planning responsibility for any community. Water is needed by every resident on a daily basis for drinking, cooking, washing clothes, landscape irrigation, and fire protection. As a community's population grows, the demand for water continues to increase, putting a strain on available water resources. Now, in the next few minutes, we will bring you the story of how the city of Irving has met the challenge of providing this precious natural resource to its residents in the past, present, and future. The accessibility and abundance of good groundwater, as well as the fertile sandy loam soil, drew settlers to the Irving area in the early 1900s. Farmers and other residents dug shallow wells on their land to supply water for their daily needs. Now, the city's first public water supply was established when a well was dug in the middle of the intersection of Main Street and First Street in 1913.
This is what we had right down here on Main and Irving Boulevard. This was the water system, one well for the city of Irving. As Irving grew, they dug 5 additional wells in the area of Irving.
Over time, the city's population continued to grow, placing greater demand on available groundwater supplies. During the later part of the 1950s, the post-war boom, combined with an extended period of drought conditions, resulted in a serious water supply shortage for all of North Texas.
From 1950 to 1960, Irving was the fastest growing city in Texas. Actually, it was number 10 in the United States. Those 5 water wells just wouldn't keep up with the growth of Irving. So Irving, by necessity, had to hook in with the city of Dallas.
It was pretty obvious that we needed to figure out a way to do our own supply.
Kind of looked bleak as far as water rights were concerned.
These conditions caused city leaders in Irving to make water supply planning a top priority. They focused on developing additional surface water supply reservoirs in North Texas, and their attention was drawn to a small lake just north of Sulphur Springs named for a nearby small town, Cooper Reservoir.
I was elected to the council in '63. At that time, we were really just kind of held hostage almost by Dallas for a supply of water.
We had a very forward-looking city council, and one of their statements was, we don't want to be dependent upon Dallas, we want to be masters of our own water supply. So in 1964, that city council hired a firm out of Fort Worth, Freese & Nichols engineering firm, and their contract was to find us some water rights.
So they began really taking a look at, they hired Freese & Nichols, which we still use today in our business, to go out and study and see what any new lakes were going to be developed.
The idea was from Freese & Nichols that for every 17 miles you moved eastward, you picked up 1 inch of annual rainfall. That's pretty impressive statistic.
4 years later, they had found the water rights, and we signed a contract with the Corps of Engineers in 1968. That water right was Cooper, Texas. There was a small lake at the city of Cooper, Little Cooper Lake, and with the Corps of Engineers, with the water rights were expanded to make the lake larger. We had some partners in the construction of Lake Cooper. City of Irving, the North Texas Municipal Water District, which is the people who have Lake Levon, and then the Sulphur River people who are East Texas. So we got a little over 1/3 of the rights. North Texas got a little over 1/3 of the rights, and East Texas got a little less than 1/3 of the rights.
Because of lawsuits and other construction delays, it would be nearly 2 decades before the reservoir that would be renamed Lake Jim Chapman in 1996 would be built.
The biggest hurdle was the lawsuit that was filed by a gentleman named Ned Fritz, who was an environmentalist, lived in the city of Dallas. He didn't like the environmental impact, and so we had to go through 14 years in the courts fighting the environmental impact problem. So it was delayed for 14 years there. The council finally got tired of fighting it, so they appealed it to the next higher court. And within about 2 weeks, we had the okay to proceed with the project.
And we did have some trouble with some of the environmentalists, a typical thing like that.
No matter what you're doing in city government, anytime you're going to try to change something or expand something or grow a vision, there's obstacles. Nothing comes easy, but if it was easy, everybody would do it.
After overcoming the obstacles of getting the lake built, the city took on the next phase. That's delivering the water to Lake Louisville via a 7-foot pipeline some 80 miles away.
Another challenge was if they built the dam and got storing water, how do you get it from there to here?
Well, it was a challenge because Cooper was 80 miles away. 80 miles to run a pipeline to give Irving their water rights.
The lake itself was finished in 1991, and then segments of construction for the pipeline began, and the first 40 miles was completed in the mid-90s. And we came in and built the last 33 miles, completed this segment, 6-foot diameter pipe, in 2003. So ever since 2003, we've been pumping water and discharging into Lake Louisville that our customers have been using.
The 72-inch line is large, so it's about my size, so I could stand up inside of it. Just the equipment that it took to install it is it's just a massive undertaking.
Planning by the city also allowed much of the second phase of the pipeline to be paid for when construction began.
I know this last phase was somewhere in the $80 million range, and we had $30 million in the bank, and we financed 50, and we're down to, we've paid that down to less than 30 million.
They managed to pull it off, and when they did, I said, well, you know, how did you get it? Did you have any council people or citizens that were against it? And he said, oh yeah, we had some council people that went, whoa, you know, can't do this. It's too much money. You're going to break the bank. We're going to go bankrupt over this. And you had citizens getting all upset that we've got plenty of water. We don't want to take on this debt. But I was told that they added it to the water sewer bill, and said since that was such a low-key type of thing, that fee that would come in, they would put it in a reserve account. And they eventually got up to $30 million in that account, and that's what built that pipeline.
Yeah, I was very proud of the council backing me and reserving the money to build that water line. It was really quite an accomplishment to be able to, then when you had to have the line, to have the cash pretty well to pay for it. And that did take some good cooperative ventures with our council, and that's probably one of my better assets I've left the city with.
2 pump stations, one at Lake Chapman and the other east of McKinney near Princeton, deliver over 60 million gallons of raw water to Lake Louisville each day.
Pump station at the lake was also built back in the mid-90s. It can pump ultimately up to about 220 million gallons a day. We're working on some improvements right now. The first 40 miles is actually 7 foot in diameter. So very large pipes that we're pumping this water through.
We've got 4 25 million gallon per day pumps that we use to feed the 72-inch pipeline here. We run it at average pressure at about 89 to 90 psi from this pump station.
Princeton is an intermediate booster pump station. It's located near the town of Princeton, Texas, just east of McKinney. That's where our staff is located. That's where we work from each day. We have a control center there. We're able to monitor the entire pipeline. We come out, we do maintenance on the pipeline on a daily basis. There's areas that we mow, there's valves that we work on. But that's really the center of our entire operation is Princeton. We have 6 pumps there, 4 larger pumps and 2 smaller pumps. 2 smaller pumps allow us to pump a much smaller flow if we're only pumping for the Upper Trinity Regional Water District. When we're also pumping for the City of Irving customers, we're using the bigger pumps.
We've got a balancing reservoir and a control tank on either side of the pump station that kind of helps us maximize our pumps and helps that equipment work effectively. And then those are the primary pieces along the line. We've got a metering structure at Doe Branch that divides the flow for Upper Trinity and for Irving.
The flow that you're seeing back behind me today is about 64 million gallons in a day is what we can put through the pipeline. The water you're seeing here goes into Doe Branch. It goes through this creek about 5-6 miles. It depends on actual water level of the lake, and the lake drops down. It actually travels a little bit further. But we have storage in Lake Louisville, and from there we store it as we need it. We release it out of the lake. We work with the City of Dallas. They treat it for us and pump it back into the City of Irving. It goes into our Hackberry pump station on the north side of Irving. That's where you see all the big tanks and the structures up just north of LBJ, west of MacArthur.
Both phases of the pipeline, along with the pump stations and storage ponds, were constructed with the goal of supporting the ever-growing population.
The investment that we've already made in Irving, we have the large pipeline, we have a couple of pump stations. It was designed to be able to grow with Irving, grow with Irving's needs. As additional water sources are made available, it would allow us to fully utilize this pipeline. It would require some additional improvements to pumping stations and with the booster pump station, but it is a system that's designed to grow.
Not only did we oversize the line, we bought twice the right-of-way that we needed so that someday, in some future years, we could parallel that line with extra water. So there's water in East Texas that hadn't been allocated, and if they ever built any of those East Texas lakes, we're prepared for it.
In the face of population growth and a growing economy, Irving has already taken steps necessary to ensure residents and businesses alike will have an abundant water supply for generations to come.
It took, what, 30 years from beginning till you get the water? Well, we're still looking out 30, 40, 50 years into the future.
I think that we are looking into the future. I think that we're addressing the issues, but there are challenges, and we'll face them. And I have no doubt in my mind that 10 years from now we're going to be sitting in an unbelievable position as far as our water needs.
We have a 20-year water plan, and we really look out as much as 40 and 50 years. When we think about building out the city, we think not only about new buildings, but redevelopment. We're an employment center. Over 100,000 people come into Irving each and every day to work during the week.
As you can see, Irving's vision has come to fruition, but we're not done. The quest for independence continues with the pursuit of water development as well as conservation and increasing the use of recycled water. The vision of former mayors, prior city leaders, and current council initiatives continue to support water development and independence in order to keep your rates low.